Hello and welcome to Prudent Media. I am Sachin Chatte and in this segment we take a look at the latest movie releases. Today we are going to take a look at one big Bollywood release and the other is a small independent film. So the big Bollywood release of the week is Shamshera. Shamshera was made at a budget reportedly of 150 crores. Now that is a lot of money to make a dumb film like this. Now, I spent a good hour after watching the film trying to figure out as to how this film was born and what convinced the studio to put that kind of money into this story. After all, it is the same studio house that made us suffer, and of course, they also suffered themselves financially. They gave us a film called Thugs of Hindustan in 2018. Now, I have mentioned that film because it has a context here. Both films were loosely based around the freedom struggle and the fight against the British Empire. Now, I just sincerely hope there are no plans for a trilogy here. I was wondering what were the writers thinking when they decided to pen down a story screenplay about a guy who single-handedly takes on the Brits and a corrupt police officer, and that too in the most mundane manner and with all the possible cliches. Now, we are in 2022, but the film reminded me of Kranti, which had Dilip Kumar and Manoj Kumar, and that was released back in 1981. I am also curious to know what the director was thinking when he assumingly found some appeal in this story. Probably that's because he wrote the story himself. And I definitely want to know what all of them, that's the cast and the crew, were thinking during the scene where the heroine, who is all by herself, gives birth to a baby while hiding in the bark of a tree in the middle of the shootout with bullets flying all over the place. But what is Shamshera all about, you might wonder? Partly shot on a set and partly with a lot of CGI, the story is set in the late 19th century where we have Shamshera, played by Ranbir Kapoor, who is the leader of a clan who belongs to the lower caste, and they are constantly facing oppression. They are tricked by the British and led by a Desi cop with a name tag that says Daroga Shuddha Singh, which is played by Sanjay Dutt, and they are made slaves in a remote fort. Shuddha means pure, of course, but he is as wicked as they come. Why? We don't know. To think of it, we don't know much about why certain things happen in this film. Fast forward 25 years later, Shamshera Jr., who is also known as Balli, which is played by Ranbir again, he's a grown-up man, and from tragedy, the film suddenly takes a comic turn. For a fort that has only slaves and nothing much, there are considerable number of kids in that place as well. The adults did live a decent life after all, that's what I'm guessing. Now Balli has to finish what his papa couldn't do, that is liberate his people. Why the Brits kept them captive in such a remote place is one of the several mysteries in the film. Now, we also need some songs, and there are plenty of them here, and there is romance as well. Vani Kapoor plays Sona, and she is a dancer who comes all the way to this remote fort to perform for the security staff there. Wikipedia tells us that the actress took professional training in Kathak, specially to train for this film. Honestly, she shouldn't have bothered because it doesn't make any difference to the movie. Towards the climax, Shamshera Jr. steals the crown of the queen, which is closely guarded and is transported in a local kind of a train. It all looks very easy as buying a kilo of tomatoes from the market. That is how silly this film is. Now the film does try to be serious and makes a mention of the caste divide, inequality and justice in the society. But for that to be effective, it has to translate into something more than just a passing mention. Now the visuals in the film are pretty at times, and occasionally they also look like a video game. Whether it is dangling from a mountain or falling off it, it just doesn't give us any sense of reality. And speaking of which, there is a scene where Shamshera is dangling from a rock and the soldiers are shooting at him, but somehow none of the bullets hit the target. A few scenes later, he is captured and suspended high in the air, and his wife is asked to throw a stone at him. Voila! The very first stone hits him on the cheek. Her aim is clearly better than that of the soldiers. The characters in the film are also very sketchy, and one can neither figure out their motive nor can have any empathy for them. Of the cast, Ranbir Kapoor is sincere, but beyond that, there is nothing much he can do. Vani Kapoor's character is primarily there to fulfill the glamour quotient, and Sanjay Dutt has been there and done that many times before, but at least he appears to be having fun. Shamshera then is quite a rough ride. There is nothing else in the film nearly as smooth as Vani Kapoor's well-toned abs. I'm going to go with 1.5 stars for this dud called Shamshera. Now, after a 150 crore film, there is also an independent film that has released this week, directed by Rajat Kapoor, and the film is called RKay-RK. That's RK-RKAY. That's 2 in 1. Now, in this world of Samrat Prithviraj and Shamshera, I am delighted that someone is making films that are off the beaten path and actually challenge the audiences. Actor-director Rajat Kapoor has been pushing the boundaries as and when he can. He has given us some nice gems like Raghu Romeo, Mithya, Kadak, and the delightful Aankho Dekhi. If you haven't seen those films, give it a shot. You will be surprised at the work that is happening in the alternate space in Hindi cinema. Now, RKay is a charming and quirky comedy with a meta-narrative. No, not as gimmicky as a Marvel film, but it's rather straightforward in its own right. The director Rajat Kapoor himself plays the lead role of a film director named RK, who seems to be past his prime, but he's still looking for his last hurrah. He is making a film where he has cast himself as a leading man called Mehboob Alam, and Mallika Sherawat plays an actress whose character is called Gulabo. Now, she is a typical tantrum-throwing actress who is fashionably late on the set. So basically, there is a film in this film. Now, reality and fiction take a strange turn when, while editing his film, RK discovers that while the footage is intact, his character has gone missing. It has just vanished. So when Gulabo is talking to Mehboob, we see that she is talking to thin air. As it is, RK is going through self-doubt and anxiety with regards to the film, but imagine the state of his mind when he discovers that his character is missing from the footage, with an anxious producer, which is wonderfully played by Manu Rishi Chadda, sitting on his head to complete the film. To add to his woes, the fictional Mehboob Alam from the film shows up in real life. Now imagine that. Now they have to put him back in the film. Now, does it sound weird and complicated? Well, it does sound more complex when I put it like that, but Rajat Kapoor has written and shot the film with great clarity. You marvel at the audacious plot that borders on absurdity, science fiction, and like an independent Christopher Nolan film. But importantly, the end result is a worthy one. Being a film about a film, there are a lot of references to cinema in general. At one point, RK says that viewers buri films independent ke naam par dekh rahe hain. Well, referring to the scenario that's in the country about independent cinema. Also, any reference about cinema from the past is delightful to see, and the references to K.N. Singh, the legendary actor of the past, cracked me up. With a plot like this, it sometimes gets a little difficult to get out of the hole that is dug. Towards the end, the film does lose some steam, but overall, it is a very refreshing outing. The casting is quite stellar. Rajat Kapoor does a marvelous job. And I'm going to go with 3 out of 5 stars for RKay. If you want to watch something different, then this is the movie. Well, that's what I thought of the films that were released this week. Let us know what you think. Do write into us. Our address is features@prudentmedia.in. And until next week, this is me, Sachin Singh. Goodbye.